The Holy Gospel according to Matthew.
Glory to you, O Lord.
Jesus said to the disciples, "You have heard that it was said, an eye for an eye and a tooth for a tooth. But I say to you, do not resist an evildoer. But if anyone strikes you on the right cheek, turn the other also. And if anyone wants to sue you and take your coat, give your cloak as well. And if anyone forces you to go 1 mile, go also the 2nd mile. Give to everyone who begs from you, and do not refuse anyone who wants to borrow from you. You have heard that it was said, you shall love your neighbor and hate your enemy. But I say to you, love your enemies and pray for those who persecute you, so that you may be children of your Father in heaven. For he makes his sun rise on the evil and on the good, and sends rain on the righteous and on the unrighteous. For if you love those who love you, what reward do you have? Do not even the tax collectors do the same? And if you greet only your brothers and sisters, what more are you doing than others? Do not even the Gentiles do the same? Be perfect, therefore, as your heavenly Father is perfect." The Gospel of the Lord.
Praise to you, O Christ.
Please be seated. This week's Gospel is a continuation of last week's reading, and Jesus seems to be on a roll. His theme is, "You have heard it said," followed by, "But I say to you." Jesus is teaching us to go beyond the letter of the law, beyond following the rules, beyond what others may have said, to think for ourselves. Pondering these texts in the midst of a very hectic dad week, I was getting nowhere. Then, during my 12-hour sitting in the emergency room, as I was reading my email on my phone, I read something from one of my online colleagues. Based on both the Gospel and the Old Testament readings, Pastor Kathy Donnelly came up with, "You have heard it said, the God of the Old Testament is angry and punishing, while the God of the New Testament is loving and kind. But I say to you that this is a gross oversimplification and not true enough to be useful." To illustrate her point, Pastor Donnelly points to 2 verses from our Leviticus reading. "When you reap the harvest of your land, you shall not reap to the very edges of your field, or gather the gleanings of the harvest. You shall not strip your vineyard bare, or gather the fallen grapes of your vineyard. You shall leave them for the poor and the alien. I am the Lord your God." If this were a summary statement of the God of the Old Testament, I would have to ask, where is the wrath? Where is the vengeance? And to top it off, today's reading concludes with, "You shall love your neighbor as yourself," which is pretty darn consistent with that thing that Jesus said. What was that again? Oh yeah, love your neighbor as yourself. And he says it in Matthew, Mark, and Luke. Maybe in John, but I couldn't find it last night. When you reap, you shall not reap to the very edges. This is an amazing statement about who God is and who God's people are to be. A contemporary reader, especially a farmer, might take offense at this command. As one commentator puts it, why shouldn't I reap right up to the edges of my field? It's my field, isn't it? Why shouldn't I strip the vineyard bare of grapes? Can't I do whatever I want with what is mine? And the answer is right there in the text. Why? Because I am God and I say so. It's not enough to share if and when someone asks. If you have land, you need to plan ahead and provide a way in which the poor, the landless, and the immigrants can feed themselves with dignity, without having to come and beg. The book of Leviticus is a collection of laws intended to prepare the people for life in the promised land. These rules are intended to tell them how to organize their new country, how to govern themselves, and how to wage peace. Even though the land is described as flowing with milk and honey, there is apparently no expectation that this is going to be a utopia. There are going to be poor people and foreigners. When God's people are in charge, they are expected to maintain a system of care for people who need it. These rules are how God's shalom, God's peace, which we talked a lot about last week, will be lived out in the land as long as the children of Israel are in charge. Now, in contrast, we have the words of Jesus in our gospel today. To be clear, God has not changed from the time of Moses to the time of Jesus. God is the same. But the situation in the land is different. In Leviticus, the people were going to possess the land, to govern it. In Matthew, they are under occupation, living under the mercy of another power. That power, the Roman government, is not interested in waging peace for the masses, but in maintaining and expanding its own power. The Israelites are no longer in charge of their own country. So how are they to deal with this enemy? One choice is to cooperate. Go along to get along. Accept some things you don't like, some things which hurt the people around you, in order to protect your own way of life. Another choice is to fight, to resist the enemy by all means necessary, which means guerrilla warfare and sabotage and a lot of bloodshed and a continuing cycle of violence. The religious establishment took the first option, but there were many rebels who took this second option. But there is a third way, the way that Jesus describes. Jesus says, "Do not resist an evildoer. But if anyone strikes you on the right cheek, turn the other also." Author and theologian Walter Wink gives an excellent explanation of these words. Wink says that turning the other cheek does not mean being a doormat. It does not mean accepting oppression or allowing yourself to be victimized. If you were stuck on the right cheek, you were being backhanded. In Jesus' day, people only used their left hands for personal hygiene, and they only used their right hands for public business. So a strike on the right cheek was a backhand blow. It was the way your enemy, or the person above you in the social pecking order, reminded you who was the boss. It was intended to humiliate you more than to hurt you. But by offering your left cheek, you are saying that you regard yourself as an equal. You are asserting your own humanity into the conflict, and it changes the dynamic. Now your opponent has to make a choice. If they hit you on the left cheek with an open hand, they are acknowledging you as an equal. This action might change the way they think about you in the future. And over time, enough of these kinds of actions may change the relationship between your people and your enemy. Jesus also says, if anyone wants to sue you and take your coat, give your cloak as well. It was common back then for the poor to use their outer garment, their coat, or I get the coat and cloak mixed up, sorry, as collateral for a loan. It was all they had. If you couldn't pay, you were taken to court and your cloak, which was also your blanket at night, was given to the person suing you. This left you both poor and cold. Jesus says, when this happens, give them your undergarment too. Strip naked in the courtroom. Nakedness was very shameful in that time. Not to the naked person, but to the person who caused or viewed the nakedness. It was a way of making the creditors ashamed of themselves. Jesus is asking some very difficult things of his first listeners. and of us. He is asking us to do the work of loving those who mistreat us. He says, "You have heard it said, you shall love your neighbor and hate your enemy. But I say to you, love your enemies and pray for those who persecute you." When you are in charge, you act for the good of everyone because you are God's people. And when you are not in charge, when your enemy is in charge, you still act for the good of everyone because you are God's people. In his memoir about the Montgomery bus boycott, Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. said, "From the beginning, a basic philosophy guided the civil rights movement. This guiding principle has since been referred to variously as nonviolent resistance, non-cooperation, and passive resistance. But in the first days of the protest, none of these expressions was mentioned. The phrase most often heard was Christian love. It was the Sermon on the Mount," he writes, "that initially inspired the Negroes of Montgomery to dignified social action. It was Jesus of Nazareth," he says, "that stirred the Negroes to protest with the creative weapon of love." The creative weapon of love. We wage peace creatively by wielding love. It is not passivity, not cowardice or weakness, but strength. Violence is the spirituality of our time, perhaps of every time of human existence. We live in a world that says, choose your weapons. But Jesus says, love your enemies and pray for those who persecute you. May we choose the weapon of creative love and strong discipline, waging peace for everyone, because the Lord is our God. Amen.